A warm welcome to Anuradha Vedic Astrology. Today we are going to talk about debates and debaters. When we talk about debate and debaters, who does it strike you first? Well, obviously the lawyers. So, we will talk about the lawyers and the judges today. But before that, a big thanks to all of you for liking, sharing and subscribing to our YouTube and Spotify channels and writing in your comments and suggestions there. If you haven't subscribed to us, please do, and do remember to press the bell icon so that you can get the updates ASAP. This episode is also dedicated to one of our subscribers who had asked us about the combinations for a lawyer. So, we begin by first seeing what are the qualities of a lawyer and then the qualities of a judge. Then we will move on to the houses, the signs and the nakshatras definitely. We will not forget the planets at all. So, let's talk about the qualities of the lawyer first. The lawyer first and foremost has to have great communication skills and they have to have a strong knowledge of law of the field that they choose. They can be a family lawyer, they can be a corporate lawyer, they can be a criminal lawyer, whatever that it is. They need to have a very strong base there. Again, they need to have the discerning ability, the fighting spirit within them and the tenacity to stay put into whatever they are doing no matter what the circumstances. They also need to have a strong ability to talk on a public platform. Last but not the least is their ability to discern the truth, get what is truth, the truth on the forefront. Finally, since it's karma, it's the work that we do, the occupation that we hold, so that house of occupation also becomes important. For the judges, it's very important to balance out the pros and the cons and come to a certain understanding and give a verdict keeping in view all that has been put forward before them. So, we will take all of this as the base and then see astrologically what is important. Let's start with the signs, the very basis, the Kalpurush Kundali. In this Kalpurush Kundali, the sign of Gemini represents communication. Let's never forget this fact that if we need to communicate, we need to be well versed. We need to know things very well in that order. So, the sign of Gemini, which represents both communication and creativity, will be important as far as the lawyers are concerned. Then, the sign of Virgo, it shows steady working abilities. It's an earthy sign. So, it also gives you your career, your profession. What more, it gives you an ability to discern. You will always find that people who have a strong Jupiter in the 6th house will have, of the natural zodiac or in their 6th house, will know how to put forward their case without fail and in a manner that it can never be opposed by anybody else. Then let's talk about the sign of Libra. The sign of Libra is more important for the judges. Why so? Because they have, as the sign talks about the weighing scale, the judges would have to weigh the pros and the cons and then get things up in the right manner. Then we talk about the sign of Sagittarius. The sign of Sagittarius is important not just for the judges but also for the lawyers, because again the truth needs to be seen, the truth needs to be shown and it needs to come into the public view. Also, Jupiter is an important planet when we talk about justice, because we will see the nakshatra also it works on, and Brihaspati has been known to write a lot of treatises on law. So, that is a very strong sign as far as Jupiter is concerned, because it is Mool Trikona sign of Jupiter. We will have to also take up the sign of Capricorn, because at the end of the day it always boils down to our karma or our work. So, what kind of work are we doing? Here we are working with being a lawyer. Okay, one nakshatra here is also very important. We'll see. And then let's move on now to the houses. Having said about the signs, if we correlate, the houses that come into existence for us are the third house. The third house talks about communication. For any lawyer, communication skills are a must. If you are able to communicate well and if you are able to communicate articulately, you will gain a lot of confidence. Third house is also creative. We all know that lawyers have to be creative from time to time. They have to get to ask questions, to bring to light certain things in a manner to catch people unawares. So the third house is very important for the lawyers. The sixth house, which talks about the profession, and it also talks about Ripu, or which talks about the opponent. So if the sixth house is not strong for a lawyer, how would they be able to work out with their opponents? That's very important. For a lawyer who is also fighting the case from the end of the government, that is prosecutor, the 10th house becomes very strong. The 10th house is also known as the government, especially if sun is involved also in the entire exercise. Then such people have the ability to become great prosecutors. Now when we talk about the 9th house is the house of dharma. The 9th and the 10th house together form the dharma karma adipati yoga. In the earlier times, it was the kings or the ministers who took such decisions. But today, in democracies, in areas where it is the rule of the people, the 9th and the 10th house is also a strong representation of withholding the truth, which is till now said to be the basis of all that we do, and especially for the lawyers who have to get the people who are on the right side to be victorious. So the 9th and the 10th house play very important roles. Now let's look at the planets involved. Mars is a planet. Every time we think of Mars, we just say it's a kind of a soldier, or it's kind of a person who is a thief. No, a Mars is also a planner. So a lawyer who is direct, who is upfront, and who knows where to hit the enemy at the right spot, as you will see in the case of Subramaniam Swami. A strong Mars is required. Mars and Jupiter. Jupiter gives you the knowledge, because Devguru Brahaspati, as I said earlier, is said to have written many treatises on the subject of law. So a good Brahaspati gives you an ability to be knowledgeable, which again, as I have been saying, there is a strong need for it. Mars and Jupiter combination gives you logical reasoning. So if you have Mars and Jupiter in any way combining by PAC, position, aspect, combination, exchange of houses, exchange in nakshatras, this will work very beautifully for you. In fact, if you have this combination, it works in many other cases also. And if this is affecting, or if this is influencing your 6th house, then definitely you make an A-grade lawyer. Let's not leave the nakshatras behind, because they are the building blocks of astrology. So what are the nakshatras? Here we will take a pause and we will divide them into two sections, one for the lawyers and the other for the judges. For the lawyers, what is the difference between a lawyer and a judge? A lawyer will see things from his point of view, whereas a judge will have to see from both the point of views, and they will have to come to a certain conclusion, having systematically adhered to certain principles of law. So when we talk about a lawyer, the first nakshatra that comes into your mind is Bharani. And even for the judges, the Bharani is important, because you see every small bit what is right and what is not. Then we see the nakshatra of Pushya. The judges are a step ahead of the lawyers. So judges will have a strong Pushya because Pushya is talking about the knowledge one has, and it's typically Brihaspati's Nakshatra. So people will have very strong knowledge about law in that case. Then we move on to the Nakshatra of Anuradha. Anuradha is the nakshatra that has the ability to get a lot of people on board. For all we think that the lawyers are very direct upfront, but they need to have a friendly demeanor to be able to get things out of people without hurting their personalities, without getting their ant up. So this Anuradha nakshatra becomes important there. Now let's talk about Shravana. Shravana has a mind that ticks like a lawyer and yet a face that can be very friendly, and they know how to get the deepest secrets out of you, unknowing to you that you have spilled the beans. So that Shravana nakshatra, which can also add 2 and 2 together and come up with a beautiful combination, is important. Let's talk about the judges now. For the judges, 2 or 3 of these nakshatras play a very strong role. What are they? Uttara Falguni, because here the law has to, the letter of the spirit and the law of the spirit and the law of the letter both have to be upheld very well. Uttara Anuradha, nakshatra of the universal gods. That is important, where the universe has to look after what is right and what is wrong. Last but not the least, Sadvihisha, where Varuna holds sway over the law of the universe. So all these nakshatras play important role in the kundali of the judge. I'll be taking a chart here. So the first case that I take up here is the chart of Tony Blair. In the chart of Tony Blair, he is said to be the Prime Minister of, ex-Prime Minister of UK. But how many of us are aware that he is a lawyer par excellence? Let's see his planetary positions. His, as we go by the entire houses and the signs, there is Saturn sitting in his sign of Virgo, which also aspects his Venus in the exalted Venus, his Lagna Lord and the 6th Lord in the 11th house, the house of gains. So debating and winning can also be a very strong point with him. Let's talk about his sign of Capricorn. There is Rahu and Moon, and an ability to see things from a very different point of view. What more, this Rahu and Moon are placed in the sign or in the nakshatra of Shravana and in his 9th house, saying that he has the ability to see what is behind the scene and probably work on facts in a very different manner. We also need to see his 3rd house. In his 3rd house is placed Ketu in the nakshatra of Pushya, giving him excellent knowledge about law and also making him understand what he can do, how he can overrule and how he can get people under the purview of law. So we see that for lawyers and judges, there are certain houses, certain planets and certain nakshatras which are very important. Do write into us how you found this video and let us know what more you want to know. Till we meet with you again, stay safe.
Please hit the bell icon for fresh updates. Don't forget to like, share and comment on the videos, and please subscribe to our channel. बेल आइकन को दबाएं ताकि आपको वीडियोस की अपडेट मिलती रहे। हमारे वीडियोस को लाइक करें, शेयर करें, उन पर कमेंट करें और हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करना न भूलें।